Hello everyone, welcome to the Handspin Review Spot YouTube channel. Please hit that subscription button if you like what we're doing here and you want to keep up with what's going on. Hopefully it will be nice for you, and it's definitely nice for us as well. So, what are we looking at here today? Well, this is the Kasfly Crusader Tri Crusader. And previously I have reviewed the bipole version of the Crusader, indeed. There it is, in titanium, and I will stick a link in the description box below to take you over to that review, because it will touch upon other things about the company which we won't necessarily rehash here. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at some size comparisons. Right, let's put it next to a tri-stubby, and we'll try and do a few tries because it seems to make sense when there's a tri on the table. A Turnian, we'll put it next to... There we are, you've got a Axis Micro there, soon to leave my collection, that one. And there we have a Tri-Compass, and then we'll stick it next to just a couple of bipoles just so that gives you an idea. There it is next to a stubby, and also, as I say, the Crusader in titanium. So what is the Kasfly Crusader? Well, it's a high-end Chinese-made spinner by Kasfly. Generally, you see them distributed online by Dean Chu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, bud. He's a good guy, and he does an awful lot of work in the community. He's a good egg. He's been very nice to me, and he is kind of heading up this brand in terms of what we see on all of the groups and everything else. So, as you can see, it's quite a unique design, and there's a lot of very, very fine machining involved here, and I think that's probably almost the biggest selling point. There's a very defined aesthetic. You've got this almost Knights Templar quality. You have these shield motifs here with the cross on the inside, which is raised above this sloping shield design, which I have to say, the machining work, however it's done, I'm not exactly sure how they get this level of detail, but the machines involved here must be pretty spectacular because it's stunning. And on top of all that, you have this kind of tiger logo on the button, which is pretty special as well. Yeah, the machining's really top drawer, and I do go into that maybe in more detail than I will here on the other review. Now, this one here is in bronze, and it's a weighty beast. This is about 80 grams, and certainly when you consider the bipole version I have here is titanium and is pretty light spinner, the characters here are very different. So I'll put that one aside for a second, and we'll properly focus on the spin characteristics of this. It's a tri-design, so where the other one had axis wobble or judder, this is extremely smooth. It's beautiful, actually. It's a great spinner. It works really, really, really well. And that in part is down to the bearing they choose, but also the retention method. As detailed in the previous one, this is yet another one of those situations where I feel bad because all you're doing is watching someone unscrew something. There we go. You can see a bearing cage there. It's done in a much more refined way than most of the Chinese spinners you see. Not that it's really functionally any different, but there you go. And you take that off, and you see inside we have a hybrid ceramic bearing. I believe I detail what bearing this actually is in the other review, but it slips my mind as I'm recording this now. But it's a good bearing. It's not as small as an R188. It's certainly nowhere near as big as a 608, and it has an awful lot of balls in it. It's just a very nice bearing, I have to say. I've now tried a couple of other options within the other Kasfly, and I still think this one's pretty impressive. And where the titanium version was relatively noisy, it certainly had a song about it. Certainly, as Alana at Fidget Haven likes to say, I really like that phrasing, it's really nice. It certainly has a song, whereas in a heavier material like this, that's somewhat diminished, so this is quieter. Now, as you can see, this spins beautifully smoothly. Really, really beautiful. I mean, it's dead smooth, I have to say, as much as I'm pretty picky about this. When it comes to dead stable, I should say, and I'll do a video on smoothness and what I mean by that, it's dead stable. There is no wobble, no movement on that button. It's up there in terms of smoothness with the likes of the Tri-Compass from Zero Feud that I have, or the Post Blades Tri-Cocoon. It really is that smooth. It's right up there at the top of the tree. In terms of handling, one of the main things that I kind of dinged the previous review for was the fact that all of this area here was quite sharp, and these little sort of simulated rivets around the shields, they were quite uncomfortable in some ways, and there was maybe a bit of sharpness around the cross. there's a tiny bit here, but along with the level of finishing, and there was certainly nothing wrong with the level of finishing on this one, it's beautifully done, but if anything, this sort of patinaed bronze with, it looks like an extremely fine media blast or something like that. It's quite hard to tell. It's really, really quite smooth, and the rivets themselves particularly, I don't know whether they changed something about the way that they're actually machined. I don't think so, but just in this material and this finish, it feels more comfortable to me, and it's just lovely to use. I'm quite impressed with this. Now, if you're wondering why I'm not going too deeply into the packaging, that's because the packaging is exceptional, and I urge you to go over to the other review and take a quick look at that if you want to see what the packaging's like. Effectively, it's exactly the same here. If you can hear creaking in the background, that's my back door. Basically it's the same, but obviously with the aperture inside it to take the try, so there's no real reason to show that here. You get a little copper insert piece that's both the certificate of authenticity, get that word out, but also a tool for opening that bearing cage if you've got it done up quite tightly. I think finger tight's absolutely fine with these, so I never really use it, but it is there. So yeah, right, those are all the good things, lots of superlatives. This is a great spinner. What's wrong with it? Again, there's really the main thing, I suppose, is the design aesthetic. If you don't particularly care for this kind of, as I say, Knights Templar kind of, you know, medieval, militaristic kind of look, then this won't be for you in the same way that the other one wasn't. It's not my absolute favourite aesthetic either, but I'm a bit more won over by this one, and I think that's just the spinner snob in me. It spins so beautifully, and it's so nice to handle, and the machining's so spectacularly good that I'm just won over. I kind of don't really think about the way it looks. It's just so nice to use. Yeah, it's expensive for a Chinese produced spinner, but I really think you're getting your money's worth. You know, not everything in China is produced, you know, using extremely cheap labour. Some Chinese products are produced at a very, very high standard, and certainly, yeah, sure, you still get some economies, but I can't help feeling that if a company in the US was producing this level of detail, and sure, if this kind of thing isn't really your thing, then it will be meaningless to you and it doesn't matter, but if you like the design and you like this really, really fine quality of machining, then this is going to appeal to you, and I don't think the price will necessarily put you off, because they're not cheap. They're not cheap, but they are high-end, so really, I mean, is that a downside? Yeah, you guys can decide that for yourselves, I'm sure. So yeah, that is the Kasfly Crusader, or the Crusader in bronze. It's a beautiful piece. I think it would be a centerpiece in an awful lot of collections, an awful lot of nice collections. It's a really, really good spinner. And if you like the design, as I say, and you have the cash on the hip, it's well worth considering this one. It's lovely. There you go. Thanks very much, guys. Catch you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.